Well, let's get you the latest now from Hong Kong, where pro-democracy activist Joshua Wong has now tweeted a video contradicting China's claims. Now, in a tweet, he has questioned those who have called the protesters in Hong Kong rioters. And this, of course, is the video that has been tweeted by Joshua Wong. Of course, China all along has claimed that this violence has been instigated by certain sections abroad as well, including the United States, while the US President Donald Trump has linked the situation in Hong Kong to the ongoing trade talks with China. Trump has warned his Chinese counterpart, President Xi, against reacting violently to the protests in Hong Kong. He said that it could threaten the trade negotiations. Trump drew parallels between the violent protests in Hong Kong and Beijing's suppression of the pro-democracy protests in Tiananmen Square in 1989. Listen in to what he said.
Something which is great for China and great for the United States.
I mean, if it's another Tiananmen Square, I think it's a very hard thing to do if there's violence. And, you know, that I'm president, but that's a little beyond me, because I think there'd be tremendous political sentiment not to do something. So I hope, because I think we're going to end up doing a very good deal. And I think China, by the way, needs a deal much more than we do. But I really do believe that if this weren't part of the deal, possibly something would have happened already a long time ago.
Meanwhile, dismissing Trump's comments, China said that they are not looking for suggestions.
我们注意到，特朗普总统此前曾经表示过，香港是中国的一部分，他们必须自己解决，不需要建议。我们希望美方能够说到做到。
Well, the protests in Hong Kong are now in their third month. We hear of demonstrations almost every day, and it seems there is no end in sight. Why is Hong Kong protesting? What do the protesters want? And why have the protests been going on for so long? Take a look.
The situation in Hong Kong has only worsened since the protests began. They started as peaceful protests against a controversial extradition bill. The bill allows criminals to be extradited to China for trial. As protests escalated, the police reacted. The street clashes became a regular affair. In July, Hong Kong's leader was forced to clarify. She said the extradition bill is dead.
I have almost immediately put a stop to the amendment exercise. The bill is dead.
But protesters wanted a legally acceptable term. They used new tactics in their protest. They used powerful laser pointers. The police used rubber bullets and tear gas to control the protesters. On the 21st of July, some men appeared wearing white shirts. They targeted the protesters dressed in black. The protesters were angry at the police's inaction. They suggested the men were from the triad. The protests turned violent. They spread across locations, including the Hong Kong airport. On the 12th of August, there was a violent clash inside a train station. Police said it was an attempt to de-escalate the situation. Though Hong Kong is a part of China, a majority of people don't identify as Chinese. Only 3.1% of young Hong Kongers between the ages of 18 to 29 think of themselves as Chinese. That's according to a 2017 University of Hong Kong survey. Protesters feel the extradition bill would increase China's control over Hong Kong. Beijing has said the protesters are playing with fire. It likened protesters to terrorists. Chinese forces were stationed in Shenzhen near the Hong Kong border. China has alleged a foreign hand in the demonstrations. US President Trump has warned Beijing against using force in Hong Kong. Specifically, he's asked Beijing to avoid a Tiananmen Square-like crackdown. The protests have spread beyond Hong Kong. There were pro-Hong Kong protests in Sydney, Washington DC and London. There were pro-China protests too in Vancouver, Paris and Berlin. Bureau Report, WION, World as One.
All right, joining us now live is Bruce Harrison from Hong Kong. And Bruce, well, what is the situation like on the ground today? I mean, we had protests yesterday, but by and large they were peaceful. And there's this whole involvement of the United States now and the Chinese reacting to it. What is the latest?
Well, right now it's very calm in Hong Kong. This follows a day of peaceful demonstrations, and I was at the demo last night when the protesters finally decided to call it a night, and they started clapping and cheering, not because they had necessarily won a lengthy battle. They're still fighting for the demands they want from the Hong Kong government, but they were celebrating in a sense that they had made this decision to leave on peaceful terms, and they had done so in such a way the police felt no need to show up. And that positive atmosphere has carried over to today. And there's a lot more optimism, I believe, among the demonstrators. They can continue to move this movement forward peacefully. Ultimately, though, they still have their demands to be met, namely the full withdrawal of the controversial extradition bill, as well as an independent police inquiry into violence by police against demonstrators, among some other issues as well. And some of the organizers and pro-democracy lawmakers here in Hong Kong have said today that Carrie Lam, the chief executive of Hong Kong, now has an opportunity to meet these demands following the peaceful demonstration. They say this is a rare pocket of time when the government can actually take the steps it needs to resolve this problem. But they're saying she has a limited window of time. So yes, while there's a bit more optimism and positivity, ultimately this situation is far from resolved.
Right. All right, Bruce, thanks very much indeed for joining us with the latest updates there live from Hong Kong.